It's your boy Mike, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra video. Let's go ahead and talk about how to play Vegito, starting off with his kit. His transformation can be activated at any time. It gives you your HP and attack up, such as any other transformation. On top of that, you don't get as much XP from mobs, but it is very minimal. And on top of it, you also get a free level up when using your transformation. So around the 5 to 6 level range is when I like to use this. And you want to use it basically around the same time that you get to level 5 or level 6, just so you can utilize the XP mechanic as much as possible, right? His Shining Fusion is an ability that gives you more HP and shield, like how you can see there, based off of how many enemies that you hit with your skills. As long as you hit 2 or more, it activates it where you get extra damage and more HP. The more enemies that you hit, the more HP that you get. On top of that, once it is on cooldown, all you have to do is hit enemies with skills in order to get it to refresh. And the more enemies that you hit, the faster it refreshes. His rush attack is very basic with just a strike attack combo with a blast base finisher. His spirit sword is a very powerful ability, I would say, in just spreading out the damage as much as possible. He gets shorter cooldowns if the ability hits an enemy. On top of that, you can combine it with flash dodge to activate while moving. It is very good for wave clear though. His flash dodge is basically the same skill as 18, where you can just dash through opponents. What I like to do with this one is try to target different enemies with this ability, just so that way you can reactivate it over and over again, because if you target a previously untargeted enemy hero during the reactivation, you get another reactivation count and the period that you can use it will increase. His finger shot is probably the worst out of his skills, but it's an okay skill overall, I would still say. It applies movement speed down, it locks onto enemies. You can go ahead and reactivate it to just instantly deal extra damage. I would say it's like a good bruise type move and just getting free damage in. And then on top of that, you can also combine it with flash dodge to move while firing it. His Spirit Excalibur is a ultimate that you can be activating over and over again. The gauge will fill up faster if you just continuously use skills over and over and over. And I believe the more enemies that you hit, the more enemies that you hit, the more that it fills up, because it just activates per enemy that you hit, right? Once you get that gauge filled up, you can activate the super attack again. The gauge will also deplete over time, and his power-ups are removed when the gauge reaches 0 or it is not filled to the maximum amount after a set amount of time has passed. So basically, on top of that, once you also use the ability and you do that little jump there, you are completely immune from damage. So that jump right there makes you just free from any damage, which is very, very nice for this character, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the skills and which order that you should level them up, though, inside of the actual game. All right, so the skill order I would get is as follows. You want to make sure to get your super attack maxed out whenever you can. Next, you want to get the skill 1, since this is the move that has not only the highest range, but does the most damage and comes back the fastest. So it's the one that you want to prioritize the most. His second skill is the one that I would prioritize after that, because of the fact that you can just, again, spam it over and over again and hit a lot of targets with that. Lastly, I would get his skill 3, because again, it probably is just the worst out of all of the skills, even though it's not necessarily bad skill per se. It is just something that I would max out probably last, right? So you want to do 4, then 1, then 2, then 3. Pretty easy, I would say. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the divine combo cards that you should get with this character. If you haven't already noticed, he doesn't gain any strike or blast based defense anywhere inside of his entire kit. The only defensive mechanic that he has is being able to get extra HP when using the Shining Fusion, but even then it's not enough. And because of that, what I would really recommend you get with Vegito for your first card is build up. You get your defenses increased every single time you get 3 KOs or assists on enemy NPCs, up to 15 times. Even with this card being nerfed, it is still the most defensive card you can get at the start. That isn't just really, really bad. Too easy is just not good enough at all to run. And while I would say Super Snowball is still runnable, the issue with it is, again, Vegito has no defensive mechanics to help him out. Next, for his second skill, I would get Solid Barrier. It allows you to greatly reduce damage from enemy heroes for 1.5 seconds after getting damaged, but you have a 15-second cooldown on it. Again, this is just another thing of this card getting nerfed, but because Vegito doesn't gain like any other defensive mechanics, Steel Skin isn't going to be the option here. It's just going to be Solid Barrier. And lastly, for his third card, what I would get is Limit Breaking Jump. Just another defensive card that allows him to have more survivability and will allow you to use your Vanishing Step a second time while it is on cooldown. And even though the cooldown is every 6 seconds, the only time you're ever going to see that is when you are having the super cooldown reduction on the divine draws, right? But this is the combo I would get. Build up, the Solid Barrier, and lastly, the Limit Breaking Jump. For helpers, what I would really recommend you using is the Attack buff or World King. What he does is give you all attack up as long as you are inside of his AoE circle. So what you want to do is place this during bosses sort of in the middle and make sure that you are trying to stay in it while you are using your abilities with Vegito, because his AoE range is so good with his abilities. More often than not, you'll be able to utilize the buff to the max extent. The other buffs are just not as, or the other helpers are just not as good as World King. So it's just what I would recommend on any any DPS character, honestly. Vegito has higher HP than other DPS type characters, so you want to go ahead and make sure you're going into the bottom lane because of this and going with the tank. And let's go ahead and just show an example of how you would want to wave clear, right? So we're going to use our skill 1, since that is going to get a cooldown reduction when hitting multiple enemies. Then we're going to use our skill 3 to just do more AoE type damage. Then after that, we can use our other abilities and just keep spamming them to try and secure Kai. Of course, if there are other enemies that are around you, you will usually want to try and save your Spirit Sword for when the enemy is low. But that's just to give a little bit of an example of how you would wave clear, right? He has very good wave clear potential, and later on that you go in, the even easier that it is to just boom, and then that's it, right? Like, even with just those 2 abilities, it almost killed every single one of those Cell Juniors. Something I also want to showcase is, remember that Vegito is not a character who is going to be doing a lot of damage, right? He is a character who wants to try and do as much damage to everyone as possible. He's basically a bruiser, right? He's going to be trying to do as much damage to everyone rather than just a single target damage. Like, even right now, with us using every single one of our abilities, we're still barely able to take Vegeta down. Like, he's just going to be able to continuously get shield faster than we can do that. But because he has so many moves that are AoE type abilities, like literally every single one can hit multiple enemies, you will just keep trying to evenly spread out the damage and trying to not just hit one person, but every single person. His Spirit Excalibur, if you notice that everyone is grouped up on boss, if you notice that everyone is going in for team fights or anything like that, I think that's where Vegito is going to be the best in terms of like his play style, right? Whenever you're having it where all of these people are pushed together, that's going to be your best bet, right? Like, again, let's just go ahead and showcase the boss down here, right? Now, normally, if you were to use something like Goku's Spirit Bomb, this would instantly like kill Nappa at like level 15 with you using World King, with you using the Kaioken on the Spirit Bomb. But watch this. You see, we don't do a lot of damage to single targets. You have to continuously try and just keep bruising down the opponent over and over and over again until they are all gone, not just one person, right? And I really hope that makes sense. I'm gonna jump cut in just one last time to explain something a little bit, but when you really are facing enemies, the thing that I would probably do is similar to when you are wave clearing. You're gonna want to use your Spirit Sword because that's the thing that's gonna come back fastest, as well as give you that extra HP when it's literally the easiest move to hit. Then you want to use your flash dodge in order to just keep going around the opponent and trying to make it harder for them to hit you, harder for those abilities to get you, for example. if your enemy is starting to try and run away, you can use your finger shot in order to make it where they cannot leave. And if you are in a team fight or any sort of team fight situation, place down your World King and then immediately use your ult. Try to use your other skills to build that ult up again, and try and remember that there is a little gauge on the bottom right that tells you how long you have until you can no longer build up that ult again. But let's go ahead and stop here for today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below of what you think about Vegito. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. If you guys have any tips or tricks, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.